Chapter 11, Pre-Incident Planning and Fire Strategy and Tactics. Our objectives: explain the difference between strategy and tactics. Describe the purpose for strategic planning. Identify the resources that must be considered in developing a strategic plan. Strategy outlines what needs to be done to achieve a positive outcome in a given set of circumstances. Tactics deal with how a task is accomplished and how personnel are deployed and how resources are brought to the scene. NFPA 1620 provides pre-incident planning guidelines. The following information is required in a pre-incident plan: type of building construction, special elements that the site may have, the number and type of occupancies, available water supply for firefighting. Also, extra resources that may be needed for certain types of occupancy, developing operating instructions to contend with unusual hazards, develop procedures to test the plan and make corrections, and finally, develop SOPs for preparation, presentation, communication, and maintenance of information that would be of assistance to responding personnel. The pre-plan essentially is created so you can have a process for documenting and disseminating the data that is collected from your inspection. The pre-incident planning process and the 13 factors are construction, occupancy, apparatus and manpower, life safety hazard, water supply, auxiliary appliances, and street conditions. Weather, exposure, area and height, location, extent, time, and hazardous material. Two additional items to consider are communication and the command structure. A useful acronym to remember the 13 factors is COAL is wealth. So with building construction, you're looking at the size and configuration of the building, what material was used, what kind of interior finishes they have in terms of fire load, and other environmental influences on the fire behavior. Under occupancy, what is the building used for? Apparatus and personnel. And you're going to dictate this by using the flow rate calculation for determining the personnel and apparatus needed as according to NFPA 1710. Life safety hazards and water supply. The formula for estimating the needs of fire flow for a structure is as follows. Fire flow equals length times width divided by 3. Auxiliary appliances need to be considered, and with that you're looking at location and types. Where do they need to be located and what types do you need to have? Street conditions. Know your territory. Map reading skills and be familiar with new technology such as GIS and GPS. Weather is also an important factor to consider when doing your pre-plan. Will wind, temperature, humidity, and exposures, internal and external, be a factor? The topography of the area. Do you need urban planning or a rural wildland interface? And when you're looking at the rural side of things, you're looking at the slope of the terrain, the aspects, shape of the area, elevations, and any barriers you may have. So, some questions. How does topography influence firefighting operations in your area of responsibility? 2. What can you do to obtain information on residential structures? 3. How does weather affect your strategic and tactical planning? Two more factors to consider is the location and extent, if there was a fire, and as well as the time of day. Does that affect what you do and what you don't do? So for example, if you're looking at the occupancy and it's not in use at nighttime, that would affect how you would respond to the building and maybe whether or not you would do search and rescue operations. Hazardous materials. Steps to follow for hazardous material. You always want to approach the location from the upwind and uphill side. Cordon off the area to isolate the incident and prevent entry. Identify the product and seek help from qualified experts. Granted, this is just a very vague list on what to do when dealing with hazardous materials. More food for thought. What type of hazardous material might fire personnel find in a rural area? 2. Would the hazardous material found in a rural area be different from those found in an urban area? Under communications, what system are you going to use to communicate? Frequencies and resource use. And how are you going to transfer this information? And what command structure are you going to use? NIOSH reports identify 4 contributing factors to 2009 dumpster fire incident. And that was lack of hazardous material awareness training, no documented site pre-plan, insufficient scene size up and risk assessment, and inadequate disposal and storage of materials. Defines goals from which tactics are implemented, and there are 7 basic strategies, and that is rescue, exposure, confinement, extinguishment, overhaul, ventilation, and salvage, known as RECIO VS. You arrive on scene of a fire in an apartment complex. One building is heavily involved and has trapped victims. The fire is moving in another direction. There is a report that 5 people are in the building on the north side of the involved structure. In a building on the south side of the fire, 20 people are on balconies yelling for help. What is your priority of rescue in this situation? So basically go through your RECIO VS algorithm and try to figure out a plan. Your plan essentially is going to be your tactics. And in dealing with your tactics, you're going to determine the location of fire, determine the extent of the fire and life hazards involved, judge the probability that the fire will spread, and decide whether enough resources are available to begin. And as a rule of thumb, you have, for every 2 firefighters in the structure, you will have 2 outside. Your tactical objectives are met by implementing your Incident Action Plan, or IAP, which evaluates the operation and alters it to correct deficiencies. And the cycle continues until all objectives are complete. Strategy is a broad-based protocol that establishes your goals for the incident management, and then the tactics basically describe how the strategy plans will be put into effect. You must keep communication constant at all times and plan for the unexpected. Okay, again, this was a very just brief overview of the chapter. Please make sure you read the chapter. If you have any questions, you can call me in the office at 706-357-0162, or you can email me at aroberts@athenstech.edu. Until next time, stay safe and have a great day.